The following content is brought to you by Mind Initiative Incorporated. The opinions expressed in the following conversation are of the hosts and do not in any way represent the opinions of Mind Initiative as a whole. Some themes in this series may be distressing or triggering for some listeners, and so viewer discretion is advised. If any of the content does trigger uncomfortable feelings or cause distress, we encourage you to reach out to us via our Facebook page or seek further support from beyondblue.org or contact Lifeline on 13 14 11 for 24/7 over-the-phone support. We would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we all stand, and we extend our respect to the elders, both past and present.
Hi everyone, my name's Jason and this is my friend Pajan, and we have a show called Does It Mess With Your Mind, where we talk about mental health issues and the stigma behind mental health, and we give book reviews and we just talk about lifestyle and everything else that may impact your mental health. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Does It Mess With Your Mind? Tonight, we're going to do a book review of the particular book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. He says that this book is a practical guide to personal freedom, and we're going to explore what the concepts of that practical guide of personal freedom is tonight. Welcome to my co-host, Pajan. How are you tonight?
Hello, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, I am awesome. I really enjoyed reading this book. Very simple but very practical steps. How did you go? How long did it take you to read it? What were your initial thoughts?
The first time I read this book, I was way back in 2017, and it changed my life, man. It just leveled up my life, I would say, because directly through reading that book, I realized quite a few things that I needed to work on in my life. Yeah, and I would attribute to my development, my progress, my growth directly to this book.
And okay, let's explore that a little bit. Agreement number one, be impeccable with your word. How did that change your life? What did that do for you?
That's a good question. Be impeccable with your words. It sounds so simple, but it is not. It's not like you be impeccable one day and then you stop being that another day. It's an ongoing thing, a conscious thing that you have to do, commit to doing every single day. But before that, let's explore the word impeccable. What does that mean for you, Jason?
Impeccable for me when I first heard it was like a perfection kind of word. Like you see someone that's impeccably dressed and you think, oh, that's a really, really nice way of dressing, or they look really good and stuff like that. So when they said impeccable in this terminology, I was actually, oh, okay, that's totally different. And impeccable, be impeccable with your word. What they're saying here is, when you make goals or when you reflect on what you've been doing, that you don't be critical of yourself. You look at yourself in a very good light, and that's what you that impeccableness of looking at yourself, making sure you've always got a good lens on yourself.
So that is to say, honor your word and always look at the bright side. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah. So if you set yourself a goal, that you try and follow through with that goal, and if you don't get through to that goal, then you don't be negative and criticize yourself like, oh, I'm so idiot, I didn't make that goal, or anything like that. You just be realistic. I didn't meet the goal because this and this and this happened, but you know what? I learned these lessons and I'm going to try again.
Yeah, because before I read that book, I would always judge myself. I would always criticize myself just because I could not get an outcome that I desired. And reading that book and reading that agreement in particular, it helped me see that outcome is not in my control. No matter what I do, there is always going to be something that's going to affect the outcome I want. The best I can do is do my best, give my best, which is agreement number 4, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
agreement
always
number
do
4.
your best. Yes, always do your best. And I would say, let's say that rather than using these, looking at these agreements in conjunction, like, never mind that, rather than looking at these agreements one by one individually, I would suggest that the best way to take full advantage of these agreements is to just use them in conjunction, use them together as if like they're like different layers of the same thing. There's no point in like individualizing an agreement, because when you be impeccable with your words in isolation. Okay, before I go on that, I'll just say what it meant for me, what my impression was of that agreement. I'd say be impeccable with your word means to be positive, to never allow negativity to take over in your life, no matter what happens, no matter what you do, no matter what other people say, it does not matter. Always be positive in a sense that there is always a silver lining. There is always the calm after the storm. And yeah, that's what that meant for me. Now, when I use agreement number 1, be impeccable with your words, and agreement number 4, always do your best, it just means that I can honor my word. Sometimes I fail to do that. Even when that happens, I still give my best, because in the paraphrasing from quotation from the book, sometimes your 100% is not the same as your 100% today, and it's not the same as it was yesterday, and it's not going to be the same tomorrow. Your best is going to change every single day depending on your health, physical, mental, every kind of health. So when you are not able to give your 100% from yesterday, there's no point in discouraging yourself and saying that, oh, damn it, I suck, man. I couldn't do it better. I should have done it better. There's no point in like self-criticizing. I would say it's destructive. Would you use that word, Jason? Destructive?
Yeah, I guess that leads into my next question for you. So regarding that destructive thought process and the combination of being impeccable with your word and doing your best, how do you feel like if you're not doing these 2 steps, how could that affect your mental health hygiene? What do you think is going to happen to someone that's always criticizing themselves harshly?
Oh, that is a string. It's very personal for me. Now, here's the thing. Always taking things personally is not worth it at all. I could go into a philosophical dialogue about this, but just to keep things like short, I would say, why even bother taking things personally? Because everybody is living their own life. Everybody is living life through their own perception. The way I see life is not the same life that you see. The way someone else sees life is not the same way some other person sees. And the things that I do is personal to me. The things that I see is personal to me. And nobody else sees the world the same way as I do. So why even bother taking things personally? Because we are not even talking about the same thing. Yeah, we may be seeing the same things. We may be using the same language, but are we actually seeing those things from the same lens? I would argue no. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, you kind of are talking on agreement number 2 there, where it is do not take things personally. And I think when you are self-critical and you keep knocking yourself all the time and say, I didn't try hard enough, or I didn't do this properly, you really start to put yourself on a collision course with your own self-confidence. And your self-confidence is something that you need every single day to be able to achieve your best, and which is agreement 4. So being impeccable with your word is also a way of you removing that negativity about yourself and boosting your self-confidence, and making sure that when you get into a situation, you're putting your best mindset forward, and also displaying your best self. And that's really important, because as you said, with agreement 2, don't take things personally. You can't you can't push someone to think of you the way how you think of yourself. Like, they're going to get their first impression, they're going to judge a book by their cover, but that's them doing it. So firing back in your own mind on yourself about someone else rejecting you or someone else giving you a bad review, if you say to yourself, look, I did my best, and you know what, I learned a little bit of a lesson out of that criticism. I'm going to take these things forward. This stuff isn't valid because I know that that is that person's point of view, and it's not my point of view, and I don't agree with it. So I'm just going to leave it there. And you get that chance to just reset, and the next day is a new day, and you put your your best foot forward again, and you start again.
I agree. And okay, I would like to ask you that question. One question. I mean, it is obvious that we should not take anything personally, that we should be impeccable with our words, that we should not make assumptions, that we should always do our best, but we always fail to do that. Why do you think that is, Jason?
I think that within us being humans and through evolution, we look at the negative parts of our life as a survival mechanism. Like, we look at interactions and we're constantly looking at those interactions because we want to fit in as part of the social group. So when we have a social interaction and it's not going the way how we want it to, as agreement at 3 is don't make assumptions, you start to make those assumptions of maybe my hair wasn't done right, or maybe I wasn't dressed correctly, or maybe they just don't like me because I speak funny, or I'm not tall enough. All of those kind of things. You need to stop making those assumptions. If you do have an issue there, then ask the person, but don't take it personally, going back to agreement 2, because whatever that person says their issue with you is, that's their issue. And you can take that information on board, but you can't make yourself taller. If your hair's messy, there's not really much you can do about it unless you've got a comb on you or something like that. It's just, oh, okay, right, next time. I'll do my best tomorrow. And it's yeah, really important to have that mindset.
Exactly. It's like we always worry about the things that are not in our control. We worry about how other people might see us. We worry about how other people might react. We worry about what other people might say. We worry about whether it's going to rain the next day or not. We worry about whether we're going to pass the exam or not. We worry about whether we are going to perform our best in a competition or not. We worry about things that are not in our control. But I would go on to suggest that there are only 2 things that is in our control: our actions and our reactions. Apart from that, I don't think that there's anything that's in our control. And agreement number 4 highlights the action part. Just do your best, man. Whatever you're doing, just give your best. If it happens, it happens. Good. If it doesn't happen, I did my best, man. And our reaction. Let's say I studied really hard for an exam and I failed for some reason. Now, the obvious thing would be to blame myself. Like, I studied hard, but I failed. And then there is also like another blame. The questions were too hard. Maybe the examiner didn't like check the questions properly. I should file for a re-examination, or maybe we can even say the lecturer was really bad. He didn't teach us anything. We can go on to blame anything and everything. That is our reaction. But we also have the choice to say, huh, I did my best. I have absolutely no idea what happened, but I have absolutely no idea why I failed, but I failed. So let's do it again. There's always one more try rather than reacting negatively and going down that vicious spiral of negativity and self-doubt and even self-hate. That is not worth it, man. You only get to live once. You have only one chance to enjoy this life, to live your life to the fullest. Why would anyone even want to waste their time thinking about things that are not in their control? That just flabbergasts me every single time.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it there. How does making assumptions lead to taking things personally? You kind of mentioned there, like doing an exam, but then you started to make assumptions that that the test was too hard, or I didn't do this or that. How do you feel that assumptions do lead to taking things personally and being down on yourself? Do you think that assumptions are like a root cause there?
Yeah, but then again, our mind is designed to think, our mind is designed to make assumptions, and we cannot stop our mind. You can meditate for like 1 hour. For that 1 hour, maybe your mind will be like be quiet and still, and you will have no thoughts. But after that hour is over, give it 5 minutes, give it 10 minutes, thoughts will continue to pop up into your mind. You will continue to make new assumptions. Meditation, I would say, is a very helpful tool, but it is not the end all be all of it. It's not that we can hack our mind and stop making assumptions, because our mind is programmed for survival, and for survival the tool that our mind has is thought. Just like our eyes are made for seeing, our ears are made for hearing, our minds are made for thinking. They cannot live without thinking. With mind cannot survive without thinking. It has to think all the time. It has to keep on thinking. Now, that is not in our control, but what is in our control is what are the kind of thoughts that we feed into the mind. Will it be the positive thoughts or will it be the negative thoughts? Which one will it be? It is our choice. And most people, they just lean towards the negative side. Even I have done that. Even I do that. I do that like a lot of times. But luckily, I've like grown to a level where I can catch myself going into that negative spiral and just pivot myself, get out of the situation, and then just start seeing the positive light in that scenario, in that situation. Because I believe every cloud has a silver lining.
Yeah, what you're kind of saying to me there is like, you're making assumptions and you're heading into this negative spiral. So to me, what you're kind of saying to me is, I'm starting to get into a heightened state. My brain is starting to get into that panic mode, and it's going into that level 2 kind of more physical changes to make you be able to run fast, that fight, flight, freeze kind of stuff. And then you're like, oh, I'm starting to recognize what's going on here. And you're re-engaging that frontal lobe of your brain and the neocortex, and you're taking yourself out of that heightened state. And it's really important that when we're making assumptions and we catch ourselves going into that heightened state, that we do recognize what's going on, and we do just understand that as part of the 4 agreements, this is like an every situation, every day kind of thing that he's talking about here. It's not something that you practice over like years or something like that. It's just whatever happens in that particular day. Be impeccable with your word. don't be negative with yourself and everything else. Don't take things personally, in those interactions and everything else. Don't focus on the way how people are talking about you and everything else. Just that's their thing, not your thing. Don't make assumptions, do your best. And at the end of the day, just reset, like have that meditation and everything else, and get ready to do it all again the next day. Because probably the thing for starting the next day is agreement number 4, waking up and having, I'm going to do my best today. Because if you wake up and you break agreement number 1, which is be impeccable with your word, and you start going, I feel like crap, I don't really want to do anything, you're not putting your best foot forward, which is just leads into taking things personally. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I have a good breakfast? Why didn't I brush my teeth and brush my hair? That bus driver, he hated me. You start into that spiral, and you can see how each 4 of these agreements, when you reverse them and you start doing each one of them, how it can have a really negative spiral on your self-confidence.
Exactly. And yeah, and throughout everything that you said, there's like one underlying point that you were coming back to every single time. That is, the 4 agreements are not to be made once and then you're done with it. No, it's not even something that you come back to every 6 months or every 1 month or every day. It is something that you do every single moment of your life. It is a commitment. It is a lifestyle. Yes, I would say the 4 agreements, it is a lifestyle. It is the way you choose to live your life every single moment. All that matters is, are we committed enough to live by those principles, by those agreements every single moment of our life? Yes, we will fail. Yes, we will go back and revert back to old habits, but consistency, commitment, that is the thing that matters. If we are to master the 4 agreements and live a life that the author promises, heaven and earth. I really like that concept.
I'm really enjoying your comments tonight. A final word regarding this book, and the transformation it's made in your life before we wrap up. What's the key 30-second takeaway that you think it gave you?
Ooh, I need more than 30 seconds to answer that.
As long as you want.
But here's the thing. Every time we read a book, we go with high hopes, and then by the end of the book, we feel pumped. Especially on a book like The 4 Agreements, we feel really pumped. We feel that we see a new dimension. And I'll give it a week or 2 and a month, then we will start noticing that we have reverted back to our old self. It is not about reading a book once and putting it on a shelf and then discussing with your friends that, hey, I read for the 4 Agreements. I love that book, man. It was amazing. It changed my life. No, it is not about that. This book is for transformation. It is a book that tells you to commit to this kind of lifestyle every single day until a day comes when your old habits are gone and your new habits are the living principles of the 4 agreements. You are automatically impeccable with your words. You're automatically not making assumptions. You're automatically not taking anything personally. You're automatically doing your best without thinking. That is the stage that everyone needs to reach by reading this book. And it is not a book that you read once. It is a book that you read again and again and again. I would suggest every 6 months or so, if not more frequently.
Very good. Yeah. I would say that this book is really handy from a mental hygiene point of view because it sets you up in the right kind of bounds. But also, if you find that you're not maintaining these kind of 4 agreements and you are being very harsh with yourself, and you can't put your best forward every single day, it's probably you're breaking those agreements, and you might want to have a chat with a mental health professional or your doctor or something like that, because it kind of shows that something is going on in your life or something that is going on in your thought process that you just might need some additional help to get it working in the right kind of way. So that way you can put your best foot forward and live your best life. So yeah, that was the way how I saw this book. I saw it as a great tool, not only for having good mental hygiene, but recognizing when your mental hygiene might need a tune up and when you need to talk to someone. So yeah, I thought excellent book, excellent book. And when you combine it with our first book review, which was Mark Manson's,
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a
stuff, and the core concept of that, of wanting things leads to suffering, you can kind of see here how suffering does enter into our lives by focusing on all of what everything else is doing to us, and having that internal focus and doing your best is so important. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you very much, Majan. That was a very good sum up of this book. If you feel triggered, or if something's going on in your life and you want to talk to it, if you've got episode ideas you want to put forward, please let us know in the comments, or hit us up on Facebook or Instagram or something like that. We are always out to hear your ideas or feedback. If you wish to donate to us, please go onto the Mind Initiative website, hit that big donate button and give us some donations, so that way we can continue doing this work. Until we see you next time, thank you very much. Thank you, Pajan.
Thank you very much. It was lovely talking. See y'all.
Bye, everyone.